honoree is not an individual but an organization. For nearly 20 years, Witness has been shining a light on injustice and atrocities around the world, and they do so with the same technology we use at NBC, video. And you know, these days you don't need the fancy camera anymore. Cell phone camera can do it, and it can save lives. Just look at everything we've seen around the Middle East thanks to simple cell phone camera. Witness shows people how to document human rights violations. Put that video in the hands of someone who can make a difference. Witness was co-founded by the musician Peter Gabriel and is led by Yvette Alberding-Time, both of whom we're going to hear from tonight. The organization has now worked with thousands of people around the world, and whether uncovering ethnic violence in Burma, child soldiers in the Congo, or the abuse of senior citizens here in the United States, Witness is making a difference. Take a look at the video.
Jumped on this guy bed with a knife. Say something, I'll stab.
Yo lo vi todo cómo hicieron los patrulleros para matar.
It's an incredibly brave individual who tells the story of what's happening in a place where no news crews ever get.
I did a tour for Amnesty. I traveled to different countries and met people who've been tortured, who watched members of their family killed in front of them. And one of the things that amazed me was that these people could suffer like this and then have their stories buried. And it seemed that if they'd had cameras, there might be a better chance of doing something.
A Witness Partner is a human rights organization that wants to incorporate video into their work, be it the right to be free from torture or the right to health or to education. We accept applications from groups involved in the whole range of human rights issues.
We would use a research, we would use documentations, but we wanted something more to this.
And we get more applications from groups than we can accept. Our response is also to provide short, intensive training sessions for networks of activists with the long-term goal of creating self-sufficient video advocacy initiatives around the world.
We have to show to, first of all, our government, to Cambodian public and to international community what is happening really in Cambodia. And the evidence is taken by the video camera. So this is the evidence that nobody can deny.
The ultimate goal for any campaign is change. That may be change in attitudes, or in behaviors, or beliefs, or in policy.
Do we have a responsibility? I think everybody has a responsibility. And the minute you start empathizing and imagining, then it's very hard to keep your mouth shut.
You simply can't afford not to make a difference. We're here for too short a time not to care, or not to get passionate about what matters most. Thank you, SIPA. Thank you, Dean Kotor. Congratulations, Mitchell. He beats Kiefer Sutherland any moment, don't you think? Last week, I was in Oxford, which is another fairly respected academic institution. And we were invited, a group of human rights defenders and people fighting for social change, to a dinner that was led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And as we all know, the world is a bit of a challenging place at the moment. So we were somewhat hungry for his advice. And he said something very simple and beautiful that I actually would really like to share with you tonight. He said, we all live in a moral universe where ultimately right will prevail. We are made for goodness, compassion, expression and sharing. And evil is an aberration. And it's with his words that I would really like to accept this award. On behalf of the amazing witness team, and some of them are here tonight, so I encourage you to listen to their stories. On behalf of my incredible, very, very active board, and on behalf of the many supporters that we have, but mostly on behalf of the truly courageous human rights defenders that we work with all over the world, who every day live the words of Tutu. They make sure that right prevails. And it's our honor to accept this award, and it's our honor to work with them. As you saw from our video, we believe that visual imagery has an absolute unique power to move people to action. So we've done that in terms of addressing slavery in Brazil, or dealing with child soldiers in Congo, or even here in America, dealing with elder abuse issues and helping, and visual imagery really last year helped pass a law that protects elders from abuse. So we've demonstrated that visual imagery has unique ability to create lasting change. And we are determined to continue to use these innovative tools and cutting-edge technologies to really make sure that change actually happens. And as we all know, today the world is quite a challenging place. But I think we actually have a unique opportunity to deepen our leadership role. Videos are in the hands of everybody. When Witness was created, we thought, what if every human rights defender would have a camera in their hands? What could they film and what would they change? And 20 years ago, we started sending in cardboard boxes all big clunky video cameras to the world. Right now, videos are in everyone's hands. So to some degree, our dream has been realized, but now we ask ourselves, how can we make sure that all those concerned citizens and human rights defenders with these cameras in their hands actually can make sure the world changes? As we've seen in the Middle East, cameras can be a very, very powerful tool. So our reality is one where video now is ubiquitous, and citizens are playing an increasingly critical role in changing the world. As we clearly saw from Cairo to Tunis, video shot by ordinary citizens who would never self-define as human rights defenders is now documenting human rights violations. It's creating ways for grassroots groups to organize. And it's being used to push strategically for much needed reforms in these countries. But from our 20 years experience, we know that video alone cannot lead to change. Human rights defenders need tools, tactics, they need strategies, they need networks, and they need training. Citizen activists are turning to social media. They're on Facebook, they're on YouTube. So what we now need to do is create a new environment where those spaces can become conducive for human rights change. Spaces that can actually make sure that young, youth-led movements that are using Facebook to press for reforms can do so very effectively. And very importantly, can do so safely and securely. Which is why we just launched a new Cameras Everywhere initiative that takes advantage of Witness's unique position between technology, human rights, and media. And that initiative is aimed at making sure that Facebook and places like Twitter, which are now the new public square, are also going to make sure that they take that responsibility and make those places safer, so that the brave young person in Iran who's protesting their government and puts their photo or their video up on YouTube then doesn't get tracked down by the Iranian government who's created a website where they crowdsource identities and gets put into jail. So it's everybody's responsibility together to make sure that the people who are using the videos to create change do this actually very effectively. Because the reason is human rights issues are complex, they're multi-stakeholder, they're multi-region, they're global. So the solutions naturally have to be somewhat equally complex, and they have to be integrated solutions. So we believe, even though we sit in it from a social, entrepreneurial, NGO perspective, that the only way we're going to be able to do this is by creating really strong cross-sectoral collaborations with the public sector, collaborations with the private sector, and collaborations with academia. And this is why we're actually very excited about our partnership with SIPA. That goes from sharing interns to really thinking about these changes together. And it will allow us to work together to find the solutions for the next generation of human rights issues. So we are actually quite looking forward to the next generation of SIPA leaders to together really fight for human rights. And lastly, I would like to say thank you. Thank you to SIPA. Thank you to the many people that make this work possible. It takes a village, as people say. These days it takes a large world to actually, of good people. So maybe Tutu said it well, but I think Joe Katz said it better. It takes good people. So I'd like to lastly introduce Peter Gabriel, who's our co-founder and the musician and activist, to say a proper thank you to him.
Hi, this is Peter Gabriel in London, and I'm here just to thank everyone for giving Witness this 2011 Global Leadership Award. Witness has been doing work for over 20 years now, just firstly trying to push video as a tool for human rights and for justice, and making sure that really important stories are no longer forgotten, buried and denied in the way that they always were. That was the power of video. And our initial dreams were to get cameras out to the world, and obviously the telephone manufacturers really did that job way better than we could ever dream of doing it. But now you're seeing, particularly with these extraordinary revolutions happening in the Middle East, that video and video storytelling is an absolutely essential part of those transformations. These are young people, a new generation, who don't want the old guard, they don't want the old ways, they want more freedom, they want all the potential that the technology can bring them, they want good education, good access to all forms of communication, and this has become a really pivotal point in the way that information is moving around and being disseminated to the world and to other protesters. What is fascinating is in my youth, people working to overthrow a country would find ways to the parliament, to where the armory was, and occasionally to the TV station. And now it's the internet and the mobile phones that get closed down first. That's where the shift of power has gone to. So I know Witness a lot of smart people working on how to respond to that, and I'm sure that the work they're going to do in the future will be as meaningful as what they have done the last 20 years. So on behalf of the team, I think all of the Witness staff feel enormously honoured. I'd also like to thank the amazing work being done by Paul Volcker and Mitchell Silver, and we are honoured to be in your company as well tonight. So thank you so much, and thank you to